Hey, how's it going, folks? This is FehtSama, and we're going to be discussing about the patch notes that have released recently. Looks like it released at midnight, and it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning for me. So I'm a little bit late compared to maybe some other people that are like right on top of it and talking about this thing. But yeah, anyhow, I would like to go ahead and give myself a shot at describing patch notes and stuff, and just kind of going through it with you guys as I read through it. So I'm nowhere experienced at all in any of this. So feel free to look at, like, I don't know, someone else. Mr. Happy is the one that comes to mind whenever I talk about that kind of stuff. But it's something that I'm interested in, and here we go. I'll just go ahead and talk about it because it's pretty cool, and I just want to be able to get this out to you guys. Get my face out there. See if it's something that you guys want to see more of. That's not necessarily just me playing the game, but me also talking about the stuff that I like playing. So, all right, let's see here. Patch 5.0 notes, preliminary. I don't know if that means that they're going to change, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's preliminary because it's releasing them before the actual release. I don't know. The game's going to be going down in about roughly 24 hours from now, so one more day for any of you guys that are watching this when I upload it. It's just and then we'll be down for about, it says from 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. the next day, so a whole entire turn of the clock in order to get this patch uploaded. But we'll go ahead and read through these notes here and see what kind of stuff that we're going to be looking for in this patch. Well, it's in the expansion that it is. All right. It is with great pleasure that we present the preliminary patch notes for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. A new world of adventure awaits in the first, and you are called to its continent of Norvrant. Will you cast off your role as the Warrior of Light and rise to the challenge to bring back the darkness? You must fight the myriad perils of the lands unknown, but how you do so will be up to you. Whether you choose to take up the fight as a gunbreaker or dancer, see the world through the eyes of Viera or Hrothgar, leverage trusts, or challenge dungeons with your NPC allies, you will find that there's much to be done both near and far, and plenty of updates to the battle system, crafting and gathering, as well as other new features and improvements to make it worth the while. So you guys have probably been following through more of this stuff than I have. I've seen, like, quality of life changes and just UI upgrades. It's not just the classes that are changing or adding the new gunbreaker or dancer class. It's they've taken a good, like, look over the whole game, and what players have said is maybe tedious, getting in the way of them enjoying the game. I don't want to say that they're dumbing down the game. I'm hoping that they haven't, like, made some of the things that I like playing Final Fantasy IV. I hope they didn't made it, like, passive. I guess a lot of the trend with, like, mobile games and stuff. For instance, I don't have much experience with the mobile games, but I did recently get myself a phone, so I've been reintroducing myself to that kind of entertainment platform, and as far as I can tell, a lot of the trend tends to be, oh, you do all this progression, but you hardly interact with the game. It does it by itself, and you feel accomplished. I don't like that. I like to actually be involved and feel like I actually accomplished something through my own efforts, and not that the game just was basically press X to hit kind of a thing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. The quality of life changes for the crafting, that might get me into crafting. I haven't actually leveled up crafting that much, but the changes that they were implementing might get me into it a little bit more. So we'll have to see there. What else here? The trusts. I'm going to be streaming myself playing this, just whether or not I'm playing with friends. I'm going to be streaming while I'm doing it as often as possible, just so I can share with you guys, like, my experience as I'm going through the expansion pack, my live reactions, and just all that other kind of discussion and stuff. But what I want to be able to what is it? Oh yeah, well, I want to be able to do it as much as possible with other people. The trust system seems interesting, but what I feel like will be good for the trust system is, I mean, as far as I understand, it's kind of like story mode of your dungeon, if that makes sense. You're already going through the main story, but it's like story mode version, as far as what I understand it as. And based on the games I've played in the past, it just seems like... So, yeah, basically with the trust system, the way it feels to me is that it's going to be one of those features that is better played post experience. Like the vanilla experience through Shadowbringers might be more interesting with other players instead of the NPCs. The NPCs are supposed to give dialogue and stuff, so some people might have other playstyles and they might just want to get the full everything at once package, and maybe the trust system's doable to go through this content at least the first time just by yourself, kind of like a single player game, and get to hear all the different insights and stuff from the characters from a immersive sort of standpoint. But for me, in the spirit of actually, like, the reason I play MMOs is to be social with other gamers online in this massive world. I'm going to try and see if I can enjoy myself more playing with other people before I go to any kind of alternative. Even if it means sitting in a queue for a little bit, or maybe it's bugged and yeah, I have no choice, and I'll just be like, no, I can do side stuff, or I'm not sure how solid these expansions are. I've heard things about like Stormblood and Heavensward, but I've never actually been present for a patch release of Final Fantasy, so this is gonna be a first for me. I've been playing the game for 6 years on and off, but yeah, this is gonna be basically first experience getting into, like, you know, how good are they getting at releasing these patches without the game crashing or having a whole lot of trouble, given the way that Final Fantasy is made with that more traditional sense that they actually have to shut down the game in order to update it. I feel like they get more of a solid play environment to be able to test for bugs and just see if the game's stable before they have the public play it. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we got to shut down, you got to reset your client because there's a 15-minute download for something that we forgot to do whenever we were trying to push this content out. I had that experience with like Guild Wars and stuff. You would play you would get the release whenever they like first were ready for it, but oftentimes after the initial release, it'd be like 5 minutes into the game, you're already being asked to reload because the client has updated to a better or a more up-to-date version or something like that. Anyhow, okay, so there's a lot of stuff here. Sorry if the music in the background is distracting. I didn't know what kind of music to put in the background, and I wanted to have Shadowbringers music, so I actually have the class actions video playing in the background because it has a little bit of music in there from the game, but it also, you can hear the moves and stuff, so it's a little more distracting than what I expected it to be, but I'm gonna just roll with it, you know. We're doing it live kind of thing. So let's see here. Alright, playable content, and then we got a whole bunch of stuff here. Yeah, the Crystarium, they added 2 new cities, the Crystarium and Yulnor. So yeah, you guys have seen pictures of that. I've seen pictures of it. What I'm looking forward to is having it be bigger. Not necessarily like too out of hand, but like feel like a good city, like it has an identity to itself, and it's not just like a placeholder for base camp or like a super fancy glass dome covered base camp. Basically, I want it to actually feel like a city where, you know, you've got your different marketing sections and you got your smithies and crafting areas. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I just want to feel like I'm sure they've done really well with that, but I'm just hoping that it's not, you know, not just a passing like, oh, well, you know, this would be cool to go back to if I want to roleplay or something with a couple of friends, but it's been there, done that, seen that, you don't have to go back there anymore. One of the things that I think I would say with some of these, with the some of the areas in these cities, is I'm hoping for certain certain spots that are like plot devices inside the cities. Um, I'm hoping for the little areas where it's like content dense, not necessarily size of the area that you're going through, but there's a lot of meaning to that area. I'm hoping that those are not too dense, too condensed. Because like for instance, one of the biggest things I have an issue with the original cities is in Ul'dah, you've got Pearl Lane, which is supposed to be the slums of Ul'dah, but it feels very jarring, in my opinion, going from, you know, fancy quicksand, you know, bar immediately to, oh, hey, there's the slums, which looks like it's just basically a street under construction. It doesn't actually look like a slum. There's a couple of beggars and stuff on the sides of the road there, but you only walk a few more yalms or whatever that down the road, and you turn a corner, and oh, hey, back to fancy, you know, royalty kind of city, and it just feels very out of place for such an important like plot device that they return to with the whole refugees storyline and that. So anyhow, I don't know what kind of areas. One of the things, like for instance, Yulmore, I know that like the top part is supposed to be where all the rich people live, and they're just basically spending their money on living lavishly instead of trying to do something productive or whatever, because they think the world's ending and all that fun stuff. But I do see down below that there are slums. I'm hoping that slums are actually like part of sort of a semi map zone or whatever, if that makes sense. I'm hoping that like when you're in the slums and you're in some sort of like, you go around a corner or you're in like some sort of dingy person's sleeping hole or something like that, you can turn around, you can kind of look around the place, and you're like, yeah, this feels like a slum. This feels like a really crappy place to be. Not just like, oh, by the way, you know, I'm sitting outside the door. This is just the doorstep of this really fancy palace. They don't sweep here very often, but you know, I'll just go ahead and be a beggar here because, you know, it's a little tiny square of like begging space. No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I do want to have it where you can get lost in certain areas. That's what I guess you'd say. And I want the cities. I'm probably asking too much for them, but yeah, I do want the cities to feel like in certain areas you're like, whoa, this is actually an entirely separate place unto its own, and it has character to it. It just that's my feelings in that regard. But I'm sure they'll deliver, you know, fairly decently. Some people are like, oh, don't set yourself up for disappointment. And I'm like, I trust Final Fantasy. It's a franchise that I, you know, have been with for a long time, even beyond the MMO. I didn't realize necessarily how big of a Final Fantasy fan I was until I got into Final Fantasy XIV, because it does have references from all the other games, and so it's a big nostalgia trip every time I play certain content in this game, and it just reminds me like all the way back to when I played Final Fantasy III on the DS, and then I remember playing a little bit of like the first Final Fantasy on the regular Nintendo, but that was whenever I wasn't quite into RPGs. I was more Mario kind of player. Anyhow, Mario and Ninja Gaiden, that sort of Nintendo stuff. Anyhow, so let's see here. Lakeland, that's one of the areas that I'll probably enjoy being in a lot. I heard the background music and it just sounds like a piano solo in some of the areas. I bet you the nighttime, well, here it's going to have different weather. Apparently it's not going to be necessarily night in your game. Not until you reach a certain point in the story and you like bring back the darkness to the area, which is going to be really trippy, having even just between playing with your friends or if you decide to roleplay in the area, if people that haven't completed that content come into there and they're like, whoa, it's bright all the time, what's going on here? And you're like, oh, it's one of those people, and then you're just kind of sitting back in the shade, and it's evening or whatever in your world, and I don't know. It's going to be a little bit interesting to see how people react to that, or if it becomes any kind of stopgap as to like feeling immersed in the world. If like not everyone's seeing the same night sky, or well, day sky, or whatever it is. So yeah, Lakeland. It's got the Crystal Tower. I know that there's going to be loading zones, but what I really would like to see is a vantage point from the Crystarium, and or like as you're going towards the Crystal Tower, seeing it like realistically scaled to where Lakeland is located. I know that a lot of times MMOs will upscale certain areas because their world technically is so large that if they actually did it like 1-to-1 scale, you probably would only be able to do one zone, and you'd have a computer half full of just one map, and it'd take forever to go anywhere. But sometimes in these maps, even though they're scaled up to make it seem big, but not like too big compared to what the actual like lore references would be, they sometimes put in the distance like an actual piece of artwork or something. Take Idleshire, for instance. You look out from the cliff sides as you're coming up to the city, and you can see out in the distance exactly like the coastline and stuff, and I'm sure they've got some sort of weird illusion that makes it look like it's way out there, but that's what I'm talking about. It helps show a little bit better of the actual scale of the world you're in, not just that, this big field is technically the entire Sangoli Desert. What I like to think of with Final Fantasy maps is that you're going in zone to zone, and each little area, either it's upscaled, or now that I think about it, it might just be simply a little snippet of the actual land itself. Like you're not exploring, every inch of the land. It's just this is a section of the land that your main character explores for plot purposes, if that makes sense. Because I know, like, for instance, in the Azim Steppe, what you're seeing there is, that creek, as far as I know, I don't think that creek is the one river. That's that little river that goes through the valley thing. That's a really scaled down for the one river. I think that the fact that that's so small, and then also on the east side it's called the Wound, and it's just like a giant scar or a giant slash that goes through the earth. It's supposed to be like an excuse to have a boundary there, but when you look at the Azim Steppe, and you're also looking at how it's connected to the Nama Desert or whatever, you kind of have to think, okay, so the greater part of it is actually beyond this mountain range. We're just in a little protected, valley, and so that's what I'm hoping with these maps, is that you'll not only be able to feel immersed in where you're at, but you'll also, if you take a look at the boundaries, it doesn't really feel like a boundary. It feels like it's just a small little like jigsaw piece of a giant map of a puzzle or whatever. So, all right, this one, Colusia, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's basically Lenosha, but Yulmore Lenosha. That's what I can tell right there. This one, I think, is... No, it's not this map. It's another one. Yeah, basically Lenosha. Yulmore... the Lenosha on the first. So, let's see here. I'm gonna be doing horrible with these names here. Amarang? This one's going to be actually really cool in terms of like the scale thing that I'm trying to describe to people. I don't know what it's... I think it's trying to be like an alternative Thanlan. That's what it strikes me as. I mean, it's got the train tracks and the deserty sort of environment and stuff. But what I really like about here is like the on the horizon, like I said, beyond the boundaries of the actual map, you see the flood of light and how it's frozen right there. I'm just thinking, like, if you get the chance to kind of look at it and you're thinking, okay, what would it be like if you were seeing that actually coming for you just before it got frozen where it's at? That looks pretty flippin' scary, not gonna lie. So, yeah, it's pretty intense what that looks like. Ilmeg, that's basically going to be Alice in Wonderland. I'm not entirely familiar with the trends that are in Asian, in the Asian media community sort of stuff, but I do know that like a lot of their RPG games have drifted into a super uber like Alice in Wonderland sort of extra mushroomy fantasy, you know, pixie sort of themes or whatever you want to call it. One of the example is that the Elflands or whatever. It's in Black Desert basically. There's this one area that they released, which just it no longer it takes from a traditional Western RPG and it just flips it into a I just took a bunch of shrooms and there's a bunch of floaty sparkly shit and there's loopy music going on every 10 seconds and I don't know. It's a bit much for me, so I'm hoping that this is still. I hope it's not like too staggering of a, oh my gosh, I'm in crazy trip out land or whatever. Now the map here, right, Raktika Great Rood. If I'm correct on one of the videos I watched, I think the daytime music in there is actually a vocal, tribal sort of song. Now, whether that's going to be fun to listen to, for as long as you'll be spending time in these maps, or if you'll want to turn off the thing, but if that's what it is, that's going to be kind of cool, because, like, I think the only other thing place that had actual, like, vocals inside the map was Elysium Steppe, and that was, like, 1 or 2 lines, and very sort of in the background, kind of not overbearing. This one in Raktika, the OST that I was listening to, it was the main part of the music was the vocals, and so I'm just hoping that it doesn't get tiresome, because I don't want to have to, turn off the music at any point, anytime soon. I like to be able to just stay in the full package, like, experience that the developers intended whenever I go into these kind of things. Back whenever I played Heaven's Ward, the game had already been the expansion had already been out for a year, so that was interesting because a year after the expansion had released, that makes it that a majority, if not all, of the bugs and the little kinks and stuff of the game have been eliminated. Players know the content basically like the back of their hands, so if you're able to keep up with the crowd, you're not necessarily going to run into a situation too often than the normal routine. You're not going to run into too many situations, and that was my experience where I didn't run into too many situations where I was struggling with the team to like complete a certain objective. Everyone kind of knew exactly what they needed to do because they probably, whenever I was going through it for my first time, they were probably doing the dailies, so they just they knew the pull points and the places where you watch out for mechanics or what have you. These aetherites, those look pretty cool. It's like they're a little more hard and crystallized in that white in the middle. I wonder if that's like the influence of the light corruption that makes them look like that. But yeah, it's very interesting. That would be actually really cool if like the reason that these crystals aren't just blue. I think blue probably represents better harmony of light and dark. If the white is like an actual hint to the etheric state of the world where it's things are not quite right. Alright, so yeah, got some cool stuff there to look forward to. Quests. Alright, let's see what we got here. Patch 5.0 introduces a myriad of quests in addition to the main scenario. As such, there may be cases where the patch notes only cite the initial quest in a series, or omit quests entirely to prevent spoilers. We encourage players to explore and discover what new stories and adventures await. So that all players are able to enjoy the expansion at their own pace, we kindly ask that you do not post main scenario spoilers in our official forums, lodestone, social media, or in videos. Alright, well. Okie dokie. That means I'm just gonna go ahead and say that that's just a kind advice to not spoil it for other people. But what I'm going to say is that, like, streaming it or actually making a legit playthrough that is clearly marked, we're going through the story, that will be a respectful means of presenting the media to other people that have, like, if you still haven't convinced yourself to go through it yourself or what have you, you have a guy that you just simply want to see their experience instead of you going through it with your whatever. I get that too. I get that. I have like a couple of videos that I really liked watching a certain other YouTuber play, so maybe my playthroughs can become something like that. That'd be kind of cool. I like to make a content that people would prefer watching instead of just playing it all by their lonesome kind of stuff. Like for me, sometimes playing by myself can get pretty boring. So that's another reason why I would like to hopefully pull off a really good live stream of this game, because I don't really have a lot of like active friends to go to and like say, oh dude, this is awesome or whatever. So you know, it is what it is. I'm just in a spot where I'm basically between groups of friends, I think, is what the case is. I have a few best friends close by, but no real big community that I can just like go and freak out at. So anyhow, let's see. Main scenario quests have been added. There's some pictures to hint at stuff. I'm guessing this is going to be one of those Titania pixies, but it's orange. Maybe it's going to be like a main scenario, like a new scenario NPC, kind of like Ishol, and not necessarily like them, because these people will actually be in your trusts, and they're like solid key plot characters or whatever. But I bet you this will be kind of like one of those people, one of those denizens that sort of hangs out, has maybe a funny, maybe it's the comic relief of the story. Or it could just be like some sort of Navi-like fairy. It knows everything, kind of to a degree that it's a helpful guide through the Norvrant environment. Or what I'd actually really like, honestly, is if that becomes your companion, which I'm thinking that that's going to be kind of like Midgard Solmir, where you're going to have that kind of character sort of following you for aid on certain points in the story. But what would be really cool is that if they have more voiced acting, or just acting and plot, just dialogue, and that the fairy ends up becoming sort of like they speak for you. Not necessarily like a parrot, but more like they kind of try, and most of the time they get it right, but sometimes they fail at conveying what your character already feels about a situation. And because it's someone else with their own, opinions of things trying to say what you think, they have a little bit more flexibility to be able to tell that more pointed story and possibly flub up a couple of times. It's like maybe they'll say something silly and your character looks at them like, "What are you talking about? That's not what I even." Okay, can you just be quiet or something? I don't know. That might be kind of cool. So. I can't believe it's only one more day until all this stuff comes out. Sorry if you guys see my room. It's a mess, but whatever. Yeah. Alrighty. Now, what is it? This one was one of the first cool things that I saw as I was skimming over the patch notes. And then I was like, okay, fuck it. Let's go ahead and hit the record button. I need to make a YouTube video, and this is about stuff that I like. So, one of the things that I like about one of the things I didn't really like about playing like Heaven's Word and Stormblood is that besides the main scenarios quests, you really didn't gain much by doing the side quests unless you were hunting for gear, which I actually, honestly, I have several Heaven's Word and Stormblood quests that probably give gear as a reward for classes that I didn't level before, and that could be either useful or I could sell them on the market for a lot of gil. But I haven't gotten around to it. I'm just too lazy. I just like playing the game. I don't want to have to spend my time, hunting for different pieces of gear just to, play the markets. That's a little bit boring for me in some aspects. But anyways, this one was kind of cool because side story quests in 5.0, they're gonna have, I don't know if it's in anywhere else but Norvrant, but I guess it's gonna have like a level sync for that particular quest. Now, how much experience that actually gives you, is it going to be like a Fate, where it gives you approximately a fifth of your experience bar? Because I think that's how the Fates worked, is that depending on your level, it gave a base amount of experience, and it was usually about a fifth of your experience bar for that particular level that you were in, because it synced you, or at least it measured your participation based on your level, if that makes sense. I'm sure a lot of you veteran people already know what I'm talking about. But with the quest sync here, I'm hoping that this doesn't just make it a Fate, sort of make quests feel like they have sort of Fate level rewards. I hope that it actually brings these up to a point of importance to complete, like not necessarily to get in the way of the main scenario, but if you're leveling an alt class and you want to pick up those side quests for the experience, that it feels like optional or leftovers that are fairly similar in reward to the main scenario quest. I wouldn't want it to be too much experience, because then you could say, you know, oh, just go to one area and complete 10 quests, and that's basically 10 main scenario quests, so you'll be super leveled by the time you get to the next area. Because, you know, I'm sure some people will be like a completionist sort of playthrough and just do every single thing in a particular zone. And that kind of makes sense why the quests wouldn't, you know, give you as much of a reward for completing the side stuff, because they don't want you to necessarily out-level the content that you're experiencing when you're going through it the first time. That's my perspective on it, anyhow. But it's gonna sync with your class. I'm guessing it just basically makes it relevant to you, but it's not gonna be an exorbitant amount of experience. It's just it's at least going to give you just, you know, relevant XP. It's not gonna be, you know, okay, I'm doing a level 50 quest, but I'm level 70, so I only got like 10,000 experience, whereas that's not a drop in my experience pool that I need to fill. So here we go. Role quests have been added. Each disciple of war will be able to progress through one of these 4 series of quests based on their designated role. The required level ranges from 70 to 80. Furthermore, completion of at least one series of role quests is required to complete the main scenario of Shadowbringers. So, this is actually really cool. I kind of heard through the grapevine that, like, you were going to have quests that were catered to whatever class you went into these story quests on. Like, if you went, like for instance, the promo video, or where it starts, it's like, a dark night. When did we have a dark night? 100 years ago, or whatever. I bet you the reason it says that is because he's referring to you as a Dark Knight. So he's actually recognizing what kind of class you are going into the story as. So I was like, oh, cool. They got, you know, quests catered and you know, sort of adjusted based on how you go in. I imagine that they did it this way, though, because it could be a little funky if you're like, you go in and you have a quest, and it's like, oh, hey, this Dark Knight guy, he saved us. And then you know, switch to your Astrologian or a Conjurer, and it's like, you were a Dark Knight the other day. Why are you, like, a healer now? And I mean, that's cool and all, but at the same time, I thought a Dark Knight was gonna save us, you know, or something. I think this is, again, with their whole... I like about Final Fantasy, they'll try to make aspects of their game actually just generally make sense. I don't know how else to say it. It's believable, I guess, is what you could say. It's not to the degree where it's extreme roleplay sort of information, but yeah, you see my point. Anyhow, what this actually means, at least in my from what I see, is that you're not getting 4 main scenario quests. You're getting, or no, I'm saying it wrong. You're not just getting a main scenario quest where you go through, you know, level 71, level 73, level 75, you know, those kind of staggered quests leading up to the level 80 end game sort of content. I'm thinking what it is that you'll get that to a degree, maybe slightly less, so that it makes sense for the, like, it wasn't such a big load to, because what I'm thinking here is that, you know, okay, so they got right here, they have the tank classes as a scenario starter point, and then they have, you know, the DPS scenario, or, you know, you got your magic caster scenario, which is kind of cool because I like playing black mage, and That'll be interesting to have ones that like have maybe lore references or just dialogue based on how Aether works and stuff. That'll be kind of interesting. You got the healing, which is kind of, I'm sure it's the charity, the pacifist sort of, you know, you did good by healing rather than destroying something. So, but anyways, these four things, they strike me as they in themselves four individual main story scenarios, like as if only one of the paths is technically which one you take, like canonically. Say Dark Knight, you know, the poster child class of this expansion. Sorry, got an itchy nose. So maybe in reference, like on the grand scale of all of their future projects, it'll be like, okay, so this guy went through and whatever class he was on, he swept through it, and it was just that one run. He didn't like double back and he's like, oh, I'm going to go through here again as a white mage. Oh, I'm going to go and help out here again as a black mage. It's like chronologically speaking, you're just one of those classes, but you can go and replay those moments in time on that different role, if that makes sense. You're not necessarily doing the same quest. Like, you know, there's a starter quest for Paladin, Warrior, and Dark Knight, too many scars, so you're probably going to be defending a city or something like that as your first quest, and you know, it's that particular moment in time that you're defending the city. Whereas No Greater Sport, I imagine that's going to be where they've turned the dire situation of Sin Eaters being not just a threat, but at this point it's a sport to go and kill them, and it's one of those things where they're definitely a match for the hunter, and they also regenerate. Apparently, like, their Aether doesn't disappear when they die. A new one rises up out of the same Aether. I don't know how soon that happens, but that does sound like sort of a zombie situation. It's like you kill it, and then their numbers just replenish the more you kill them. But yeah, if that makes sense. So, like, you know, if you happen to be the Warrior of Light that goes through and protects things, then you'll be influencing the protective side of the world as you're going through the different chronological steps of your journey. If you're a black mage, you'll be learning the secrets of Aether or something like that. Whereas someone else, surely someone else, or somehow, the townspeople that would have been protected by a Dark Knight you are, you know, being progressed along by other forces in the area, if that makes sense. I don't know. It could just, I could just be over analyzing what the but okay, this is what actually got me like really interested, is that you can do these four different quest lines. You play these four different role quests, and it's you know, it's probably like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the tanking role quests, 1, 2, 3, 4 DPS melee, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 mage, 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyways, if anyone's ever played like Shadow the Hedgehog, where it has the diverging path, like you have the starter quest or whatever in the game, and then it has, like, you know, you choose to go down this route or save this person, so then now you're on the good or the bad or the neutral side of the story. I'm feeling, and then like the whole point of that particular game was to not only complete the game based on your alignment and your preferences, whether you wanted to be good, bad, neutral, and to some degree some variance inside those different alignments, because Shadow was one of the earlier characters that I got to play where, you know, you didn't have to be the good guy, you could actually be the bad guy and have the worst ending kind of thing. I don't think this is going to be necessarily like that. It's not going to be a branching out like triangle sort of shape. It's probably going to come out, spread out to these different classes like in a sort of a diamond shape, and then they'll come back together. And that's what I was looking at here, this question mark quest line. It says that you technically complete the Shadowbringers story by completing one of the four main things, but this one you don't actually get to play that, this extra step, until you've gone back and every role you've gotten to level 80 and gotten through their quest lines. So this is brilliant, honestly, for me, for getting like people, the different roles really replenished or whatever, get imbalances fixed for their recruitment efforts whenever they have experienced players going in and they like a specific role. This is going to, I play all sorts of classes. I don't necessarily have a particular main class. I do like healing, but I probably wouldn't want to be a healer in like a static sort of content, because healers are just pivotal as to like the importance in certain fights. You keep your tank up, or if like DPS gets hit by something, you are the one that keeps them alive, or you got to keep yourself alive. If you go down, everything else falls apart like a deck of dominoes. Like, unless you have a summoner with you, which I think they're removing res for DPS. I'm not sure, but unless you're a DPS class that has a res skill, then once the healer goes down, the team's just basically on a timer. Can they mitigate enough damage to get to the end so that they can get out of combat and the teammates can revive, or can they? It'll be nice because so you do have those situations where some people are like, I don't want to. I should just go ahead and minimize this. I know I can see my face and I keep looking down at the camera. It's just a force of habit. I get to looking at the screen instead of looking at the camera. That's what I don't know what you call it. I gotta look at the camera more often, not look at down below. I'm not looking at like chat or anything. Nothing's going on that side of the screen, except for I do have Discord open. But yeah, no, it's cool in the sense that you get to experience the story in more ways than one, and that's what I really like, is that you'll be able to get all these different angles, and potentially get these bits and pieces as you're going through like your first playthrough, and you're like, okay, I kind of get what this situation is, or what this big baddie is all about. But like, for instance, if you go through as a tank and you're like, okay, so these guys are tough, and the Scene Eaters, this is how they regenerate, and then, okay, this is Innocent, he came and this is what happened. Maybe he was the one that initiated the flood of light, and I've just got to basically be the bulkiest, beefiest person in the group and protect them all from this unstoppable corruption of light. And so you just feel more of like you're facing head on the story, but you're just kind of seeing what comes at you, and then you can go back and play as a DPS. No greater support, so you get to see more of the aspect of like how people have adapted to combating these things. Whether they're living in disparity, or whether they're trying to make lemons out of lemonade, kind of thing. They're making a sport, a hunting sport or whatever, off of these things, or it turns into like the world's become one giant arena and you're the guy, so it's just like a giant battle royale or something like that. So I kind of get that. That'll be interesting. And then you discover, okay, so this is where the fighting spirit comes from the population. And then, obviously with the Black Mage, Summoner, Red Mage, you're more magically based, and so you get to discover, okay, why is the light corrupting? And what deeper level is the cause of this? Is there some sort of, like, base unit that you can go to in this universe to be able to figure out, okay, what went wrong? Was it, the avarice of humanity that went and they tried to create something that wasn't there in the first place, and just because the universe is magical, they created these gods, and maybe that's how it happened, and then, men aren't perfect, so they ended up trying to use them as pawns. I don't know. You get to looking at, like, there's the corruption of light and the corruption of darkness, but what's the laws that govern those two forces, or are they so primordial that like they're even more ancient, or they're even more deep. I don't. That's not the right word to say, but than the actual gods themselves. Like the gods are also part of the whim of these two opposing forces. Maybe I used to think of like a universal theory whenever I was doing like story making for my own personal roleplay. I used to do fiction writing, and one of the things that I like to do was create universes and start like the very absolute possible beginning of these universes and how they started. And one of my favorite ways to do it is that, you know, there was just like a giant endless swath of chaos, but because it was chaotic, sometimes order happened inside that chaos, and it became like a bubble of stability. And so there's chaos of a type that's trying to fold in on itself constantly. But because there's order in this bubble, you the entities that live in there have a will of their own, and they can, you know, rise up in their own magical or powerful way or whatever the basis of that world was, and that's how they maintained their little sphere of order, I guess. I don't know. But that's what the light and dark remind me of, is that, you know, it's just light and dark are two I don't know, it's not caustic. That's not the right word. Volatile. They're both volatile forces, like the absolute base of any kind of influence, a force of light and a force of darkness. So you can't go any more base than that in those two spectrums. But because of something hitting in the middle, it created this universal sphere of, you know, where Heidelin and the other shards and everything just kind of makes sense. It's not a mushy, chaotic mess of light and dark. It's got some sort of continuity to it. And it's because of the balance of the two forces, and that's I don't know. If that's what they're going with, then that's cool. But I kind of want them to actually go and have something bigger than Heidelin and Zodiark that actually has like a driven will to be what it is, or implement what it's doing. Because if they go too auspicious and they're too, like, you know, this thing is so massive, it's not even really a thing, it's just a force of nature. And that kind of, in my opinion, that brings it to some sort of finality where you understand the threat, but it's no longer personal, I would say. That's basically it. I want a threat that feels personal. I know it's probably not going to turn out that way. They're probably going to eventually be like, you know, the world is, the world is built this way, and, you know, even though the gods exist and the primals exist, and when it comes down to it, you guys are just blobs in this universe that wants to crush in on you, and the very nature of the universe is just opposing in some way. That just makes it more of like, okay, well, great, now we're just working on survival, you know, we just gotta somehow keep the balance, and there's no particular bad guy that is causing this. I don't know, I'm probably asking too much with these types of stories that they're coming out with, because you do have those factions, like, for instance, the video that says he's like, that's him, that's Vothri, or Volthri, whatever. He's probably some human that adapted to the influence of this light, and instead of being absorbed and turning into a mindless husk because it accepted it in some way, that's how he feels as a way to maintain his sentience. But what governs his subjugation to this light is not by any particular driven entity above him. It's just the force of light, and he found a way to survive by, you know, embracing it I don't know. That makes it a little more. Yeah, those are personal villains, but the forces that govern their evil or whatever, I don't want it to just be, you know, primordial light itself, the actual force of law and order is just, you know, too much of it is just as bad as too much darkness, and which is kind of the case, but I'm really hoping that innocence is also like a little bit of a hint into the deeper layers of the world. Like maybe he comes from the realm of the gods. Maybe he's a rejected god. I don't know. Maybe he's the will of this chaos that's beyond the universe or something. I don't know. It's gonna definitely get really crazy. It reminds me of whenever I watched. Well, I still kind of watch it, but I kind of fell off watching once it got too crazy. Is Supernatural? They went right for it. You know, here's God and here's the devil and here's, you know, primordial darkness, but it's actually a person. And then it's like they went so far as to say, you know, nothingness has a person, a thing that like just simply wants everything to sleep. And that was kind of cool, even to the level of a cosmic entity. It was something self-driven to a point, or at least personified as having a conscientious drive. If that makes sense. I am going way off topic here. I am sorry if anyone's, you know, either skipped ahead or just passed on this video. If you're still watching, I really appreciate it. I don't normally do this, but there we go. I'm rambling about random stuff. Anyhow, so let's bring it back in and talk about these patch notes. I have a crap ton, like my whole bar. There's a lot of stuff up here. I don't know if I'll go through all of it, but we'll see the stuff that I'm interested in. And let's see here. New job quests have been added. Disciples of War and Magic will be able to accept one new job quest after completing the final quest of the main scenario. Wait, disciples? Okay, let me actually pay attention here. Sometimes I read and I'm not actually paying attention to what I'm saying. I know, that's pretty awful of me, but still. Disciples of War and Magic will be able to accept one new job quest after completing the final quest of the main scenario and their designated role quest series. There's an... Job quest. Okay. Completing the final quest of the main story. I'm sorry if people understand this. I try to look for like the really deep meaning behind it because I'm trying to speculate. I know all of it will be clear in like a week, and I'll have, you know, all the answers, and it just make sense. But I don't know. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, it's taking you back to the source. You got old Lenosha. Oh golly. Foundation, and it's specific to the job that you want to go. Let's see. Our compromise. Okay, so they bring Shadowbringers. This is going to be bizarre, though, the story, because you know that the last boss is going to be something that, you know, is impactful and it changes the world. And obviously, you know, you're going to bring darkness back to the world, and so you'll have a day-night cycle again in Norvrand. But now it's looking like there's a definitive epilogue that they're going to just, you know, put right in there in 5.5.0. I mean, it's 5 maps, but it's only one new area technically. It's not Alamigo and the Eastern country, Othard stuff. So, anyhow, it's interesting. I'm betting that, you know, there's going to be. I hope this isn't like you have to choose. Because I don't know what class I want to be. I play all sorts of classes, and I don't play any particular one seriously. Like, I guess I would say, based off of my roleplay, I am an astrologian because that's what my character is. But if I'd have to choose at the end, like the epilogue requires me, and it's just that one quest, I can't do it for... You gotta be able to do it for all the individual quests. You have to. It wouldn't make sense if you couldn't. It couldn't do that. It says, Disciples of War Magic will be able to accept one new okay. I'm probably reading this wrong. It probably is the case. It's probably like, oh, by the way, after you complete Shadowbringers, for each individual class that you've brought to level 80 and gotten to this point in your job quests, you get to do that extra mission. And you're going back to the source. So you're talking to your original people or whatever. So I'm betting whatever happens on the first, there's going to be some sort of lingering or transferring either danger or possibly like there was a problem there already on the source and you're bringing the answer back from the first, and this is kind of how it sort of mashes together with what the community in the source is doing NPC wise or whatever, if that makes sense. Let's see, Steps of Thal. I like that quest right there, Bard. Sweet dreams are made of peace. The mongrel in the night. One golem to rule them all. Oh yeah, that one. Black Mage quest. It's kind of funny with those quest lines. I beat the last level 71, and it was like, wait, the level 80 magical DPS quest roll. But yeah, let's see here. Astrologian, pillars. Okay, cool. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm probably rambling on way too long for a video that's just supposed to be going over patch notes, but thank you guys again for watching. I'm going to try and collect my thoughts, and I apologize if I've dropped any like ideas that I was going off of, or I was going to bring a point by saying something. If I forget, I'm sorry. Right now I'm just kind of like trying to hand fist this before I go to bed, just so that I can do this and see how you guys see how it's received. So let's see here. Crystarium deliveries are a new type of custom deliveries. Each disciple of the hand or land will be able to progress through one of 5 series of quests associated with different facets of the crystalline mean. Completing deliveries for facet of the crystalline mean will advance the story of that particular facet. Okay. I'm not a crafter, so I don't exactly know what they're talking about here, but I'm hoping I might, like I said, if they're gonna have quest lines for crafters, I might have to go back and do that. The thing is that I'm kind of a completionist in that regard, or at least I want to be as efficient as possible with that. So what I did set out to do initially, and I've gotten kind of, at least to level 15 on every class, but I wanted to be able to do every single quest, or every single class, that chunk, before I had to do the next gear. Because I don't want to have to go through and, you spend 5,000 or 500,000 gil to have this particular crafting gear, so that you can make this plans, you can continue to progress, and yada yada. I just felt like it was more efficient if, since crafting gear transfers between the different crafting professions, you don't have, golds besides your actual level 50, or I think the one that's besides the special glamours or whatever gear. I think, coat of gathering or whatever, you can wear it on any class. But yeah, I'm gonna be one of those insane people that if I do buckle down on that, I'm doing it where every class is gonna be in chunks, and it's gonna be all at the same time, and maybe it'll burn me out, or maybe I'll finally get somewhere. I do know that once I get to a certain point, it's supposed to like turn a profit, but you know, it definitely feels like right now the way the old system is. I hope this new system makes it a lot more fun. The old system just felt, in my opinion, it just felt like a job. It was not necessarily a whole lot of fun. You could make it fun because you could be like looking at your skills and thinking, okay, if I do this, then this, then I have a higher chance of high quality for that. And then you can just kind of, you know, have a little bit of entertainment by the fact that it's like high quality money, high quality money, high quality money, and it's just in the gambling sort of aspect, I would say that was entertaining, but actually being engaged in what you're doing, I don't know. Again, I'm probably asking too much for these particular things. It is a craft. You're making something. You're not like fighting a golem in order to get some sort of rock armor. I don't know. Okay, and I should get my gathering stuff done. That's the other thing I wanted to actually do. Is I bet you it does feel interesting. Like, it's one of the things I want to really get down, for instance, is Fisher, because it has the different fishing holes, and it doesn't show up on the map normally. You see it in your fishing log. They're different just locations that they put in the map that I feel like some of these side jobs or professions that aren't, you know, main adventure professions, they have little nuggets of lore that you can gain to appreciate the world that you're in a different light. Like, for instance, I bet you the fishing quests in Lenosha is one of the only ways that you can really like understand what this particular waterfall is in that zone, and what it means to the what kind of history it has. I think that might be the case. There might be, like, I think there might be a lot of things like okay, I do know one deal with the mining deal. You go at one point and you harvest stone from the Seal de. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's the Lalafellan line that was sort of a competitive line of royalty to the Ul, like Nanamo, Ul, Namo, to those people, Ulda. But you go and you mine some of this foundation rock, and you find out that, like, through a little bit of flavor text, it says that this rock is from the old extinct lineage or whatever faction of these people, and it was a little nugget that I was like, oh, cool, okay, well, I really didn't know what that was. And I think it also helped explain, you know, why this particular spot that you're walking through or going through in Thanalan, it's called the Allegan Sunway or something like that. You're like, okay, why is it called a Sunway? It just looks like a regular path in the ground. And then I think if you try to look at it from the fact that it's, you know, 500,000, or it's just a long time ago that it was an actual developed, like, path that people walked, and it was I don't know. I'm probably going on tangents like crazy. Okay, so let's see here. Crafting quest. This is cool. So it has basically the same thing. You got, you know, once you complete all 5 Crystorium delivery quests, then you get your bonus quest, which, like I was saying with the Hedgehog thing, it's just that was where I was trying to go with that story. I'm sorry if you guys thought I was just gonna forget about that. What I liked about the storytelling in that aspect is that you did have to go and try and get every single ending. The good, the bad, the neutral, the in-betweens. But there was like 7 different quests, or 7 different endings that you had to go for. And once you completed the 7th ending, then it pushed you into the bonus epilogue quest, where you fought the true boss, and you fought, and you had your true power, and you were doing your actual, like, story written purpose for the game. It wasn't just like an optional sort of romp through, you know, whatever the game you're playing. with like a sort of a half attempt to make it like cater to your choices. I don't mind if it does that with some of the storytelling. Some storytelling is nice whenever you have choice, but I do like it if you have that option where the writer's intent reels you back into the reason you were doing all this other stuff. So I feel like once you complete all those quest lines for the main scenario on each of the different roles, I bet you that extra bonus quest it's going to be probably a boss, and it's probably going to be really hard, or it's going to be an epilogue, and it's just going to be like a huge lore nugget, and you're just going to go through and you're like, okay, I know what defending, fighting, magic, healing, I know all these different aspects of the problem, and now that I can fit these pieces together, that's why this new quest crops up. Maybe it's to do with Zodiark and Highland. Maybe whenever you complete all those different role quests, you you then have this aha moment or something in your character's journey, and then they bring this up to the rest of your comrades, and you go to this specific spot that seemed like nothing really was nothing too terribly out of the ordinary, or you just weren't looking at it with the right frame of mind, and then boom, it just there's the answer. I don't know. That's gonna be pretty cool how that goes. So leaves. Let's see here. We got leaves, which are nice. Okay, they get added for disciple, hand, land, tradecraft, fieldcraft. Okay, that probably tells me that the role quests might actually be a replace. No, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna have leaves for the higher levels. I honestly I forget if Stormblood even had leaves, because I would just do dungeons. I like playing the classes that had the faster queues, or if I played DPS, I just dealt with the queues to level up that way, grind my way up to whatever. Anyhow, so yeah, it's interesting that they didn't indicate adventure like battlecraft leaves, whatever you want to call it. Let's see, new fates have been added. Players will receive bicolor gemstones upon completing fates in 5.0 areas. Oh my gosh, sorry. It was almost 2 o'clock whenever I started this, and then it's almost 3 o'clock. I'm sorry for the long rambles, but you're getting me uncut and just my where I go with this, whatever, you know. I hope that it's informative. So, God, I gotta finish this before I fall asleep at the wheel. I am not getting through this at all. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get through all of this. Anyways, fates. Okay, so currency can be exchanged with gemstone trader for various goods. Okay. What do we got here? Furthermore, as you continue to complete fates in the new areas, gemstone traders will offer a wider selection of items to view your progress in each area. Shared fate under travel in the main menu. Shared fates. Okay. Gemstones. Oh, nice. 500. I'll if that's like how many you actually have to collect, that's kind of cool to have that as like an aftermath sort of deal. Oh, I know what they're doing here. Wait. Yeah. No information to display. I think... I can't remember on Heaven's Ward if they actually showed Access Law, because it was a spoilery area to show that, like, before people even got to play the Heaven's Ward quest line. I just normally they do have, you know, the 2 extra like zones that you don't get to see until, I don't know, maybe fingers crossed. Hopefully that's not just like a generic, oh, this is exactly what we put in here. when there's actually nothing to display. Hopefully this is hinting that there's 2 actual like maps that they haven't told you about that you're gonna discover as you play the game. So play through the main scenario. But anyhow, that's pretty cool. Treasure hunt. Okay, treasure hunt. Oh my gosh. Stay awake. Glider skin treasure maps. Okay. I don't know why I'm reading through this. I don't really do treasure hunting, but I kind of, I've joined a couple of parties that have done it. It's just it's such a concerted effort with other people that like I'd have to be with a group of people that I, you know, regularly played games with to be able to, you know, do these effectively. I don't know if pug matches happen often, but you know, I really have no idea what my problem is, why I'm not like in some sort of group of friends right now doing content with them where you know, it seemed like it was so easy, like whenever I, you know, years ago started this whole MMO stuff. Lately it just seems like nothing's clicking, nothing hitting the mark. I don't know, maybe I'm getting too old, maybe people think that I'm just in a different I don't know, because there's a lot of younger people that I often play with on these games, but then, you know, I hop into the chat and maybe I do come off as a very like relatively older person and they can't really relate to, or something like that. I don't know. I don't feel that old, but it could possibly be the case. Maybe it's just I haven't really fit into the whole I'm an older person kind of attitude. Because I do have the moments where I'm just, you know, I'm feeling pretty young and silly and immature and all that, and I don't know if that's off-putting for the younger crowd to have to deal with, but yeah, I don't know. I'm totally not that old, I swear. It seems like just something's not clicking. I'm not connecting with the people like I used to. So yeah, if it's not me, if it's just because I've just had bad luck, then please adopt me. I would not mind helping people out with just doing stuff, just, you know, somewhere that I could have fun and enjoy, you know, my hobby with people of like mind or something like that. I don't know. This is what I get for recording so late at night. I end up just I like this. I like this a lot. These icons. The state tags have been added. Atelier. That's like art. Bathhouse. I like that. Garden. Far Eastern. Nice. Yeah, it's like a theme. They did need for a long time this bathhouse thing, because, you know, you could say it's a venue, or you could tell that it's like an inn of some sort, but it never was really specific. You'd have to like read the house thing. I like these icons though, because when I do eventually get back on the whole role-playing thing, I think what I'll do is I'll do kind of like what I did with my friends years ago. I'll go and survey the different housing communities and build a rough graph, probably for my personal use, but just like say, okay, these different people are active to this degree and they're doing this, and I bet you anything, by the time I get to seeing enough people with the character that I push through these different houses with the intent of roleplay, I'll probably end up getting to the point where I'll have too many people trying to, you know, roleplay with me, and I tend to get a little bit overwhelmed with those kind of social environments. It's like, okay, I like doing stuff, but if I have too many people I have to juggle, I feel like I'm, you know, neglecting someone and giving someone else too much attention, or, you know, simply I don't have enough time to spare for anyone, and so I get like I end up just not hanging out with anyone because I'm like, I don't have time for, you know, individuals. I don't know. Yeah. What am I trying to say here? Preview function for furnishings have been added. Restrictions on exterior housing stuff. Basically, I Okay, cool. That's pretty. You got gardens there. Oh, golly. Let's get to the end of this here. Manderville Golden Saucer. New prizes are available for MGP, obviously. Following adjustments. Image of your character will now be displayed when playing. Option to reset rank and rating has been added. Oh, that's for Mahjong. Okay. I have not played any of that. I don't know how popular it is, but let's see here. Oh, here we go. Players can now select the Hrothgar and Viera races. Hrothgar and Viera races will be selectable when creating new characters, editing your character's appearance using Fantasia, or hiring a retainer. Cool. It's time to get myself a bunch of Viera housemaids. No, I'll get the Hrothgar and get them all like really dapper dressed and stuff, and just be like, yes, I got my big cat man chauffeuring my goods around or whatever. Let's see. The following additions and adjustments have been made to the sightseeing log. Shadowbringers entries have been added to sightseeing log. Entries can now be completed regardless of class and job. I didn't know that was a thing, but that's kind of cool. I should do more of that. Like, that's part of the whole getting little tidbits of lore that you don't normally get, I think. I think they might have dumbed down the sightseeings to just being, like, random places, and you got to figure out what sort of emote to do in that area. But I want to think that, like, if I actually got back to that, that there'd actually be little nuggets of information about that particular landmark. Let's see, new categories have been added. Your Fate 1. Complete 5 fates with the highest rating possible. 10 fates with the highest rating possible. Okay. Changes have been made to the challenge. Okay, so challenge log. So, cool, you get more fate stuff. Fated to Wander. Chloe's bronze certificates of commendation have been added as rewards for completing Wondrous Tales. Okay. These certificates can be exchanged with Chloe Aliapo. Aliapo? Aliapo. I don't know how to pronounce it. Aliapo? Probably saying that wrong. Let's see. Skywatcher NPCs have been added to new areas. Obviously. Okay. New emotes have been added. Cool. Hairstyles have been added. Got the sort of new, like, whatchamacallit? The protagonist haircut. They have a lot of I don't know what you want to say. Interesting. The level cap for all disciples of War Magic have been raised to level 80. Gunbreaker and Dancer jobs have been added. These jobs have no corresponding classes and begin at level 60. Cool. That's nice. I will have to hold on to my Shire gear. That's actually really cool, though. One of the weak points I felt with the other classes is that they don't seem to come into their own until they're level 60. Plus, you know, Poetics can buy you Shire gear, which is level 270, and that just instantly gets you into a position to really work your way up the ranks, I think. It gets to the really good treadmill part of things. Let's see here. Gunbreaker can be unlocked by completing the following quest. The makings of a Gunbreaker. Alright. Oh, that's cool. Okay, they're gonna bring new characters into the source. New Gridania. God's Quiverbow. Dancer, DPS. Limsa, Lumitsa. Nice. Dancer can be unlocked. I am going to have a fun time figuring out what kind of Viera I want. I definitely can see, like, they've given them a very definitive, what they call Luperine sort of look. their faces are fairly rabbitish, and there's one face that's like kind of looks a little derpy in my opinion, but if you look at it at the right angle, you're like, yeah, that does look kind of Jackrabbit-ish. So, but yeah, it's not actually like a human nose really. It's kind of more bunny-ish, I guess you could say. It's just details. The outfits is probably going to be really awesome. I like those chakram, which I like that they named the weapons throwing weapons. They don't actually say chakram. It's throwing. It's a throwing item, because like they were saying at one point, you're probably going to get a weapon that doesn't look anything like a chakram, but it still counts as a dancer weapon. So that'll be cool. More creativity there. Shall we dance? Of course. And then I like these references. These little, like, clues that you know that the writing team still has that flair, that they really like what they're doing. And they're in step with the, like, culture and stuff that they're... Yeah. In accordance to these additional... In accordance with the addition of these new jobs, gear for Gunbreaker and Dancer has been added to rewards for certain duties, and will not be shown, and will now be sold by merchant NPCs. Additionally, Gunbreakers and Dancers will not receive the first-time completion bonus from Guild Hess. Okay, it's probably because you can abuse it with the level 60 character. It's a 5.0 thing. I wonder if you can just simply walk. I think you have to have. I think you have to have, yeah, it says Disciple of War or Magic level 60, so these classes will be automatically unlocked for me. Dang it. Okay, let's see here. New job actions have been added. Substantial revisions have been made to the battle system. Umbral Ice now also reduces the MP cost of ice spells. Very nice. This effect increases with each stack gained. Immunity gained for certain healing actions has been reduced. That's good. Not that I had a problem with immunity in the first place, but okay. To improve player usability, the time frame in which players must execute actions to continue or complete combos has been extended. To improve the use of player usability, time frame. Oh, okay. So whenever you get like a proc, basically, there's I bet you it gives you like three GCD instead of 2 GCD to actually get your skill pulled off. I think that's how it goes. I do know that there's like a certain couple of beats that go by before the proc disappears, but it does disappear fairly soon if you don't use it. Or you're not like moving across the field. You're moving from one enemy to a group of enemies to another. That'll be cool, because whenever I'm doing those leveling dungeons, sometimes you end up doing, skill 1 5 different times for these enemies, because they'll be dead before you can do your full combo. And yeah. Let's see here. The rate at which limit break gauge fills when using healing actions has been reduced. I didn't know that was a thing, but okay. The limit break gauge will no longer fill when non-healer jobs are using... Wait, the rate at which limit break gauge fills when using healing actions has been reduced. The limit break gauge will no longer fill when non-healer jobs are okay. When non-healer jobs use healing. Okay, so that is where they're trying to push healers into more of a more specifically healing role, not just kind of you do have healing skills, but you also have to do these different other things, yada yada. Yeah, let's see here. The rate at which the limit break gauge fills in new areas when taking damage from enemies under certain conditions has been reduced. I've never actually run into a situation where limit break was ever like out of step, or it felt like you had limit break ready far too early in a fight. I felt like it was really nicely timed, if a little slow. Like for different bosses. There's multiple times where you'll see like, okay, if we can hold the boss for just a little bit longer, we might be able to get that extra tick so we can do, you know, the bigger limit break. Oh, someone popped it before the last tick, and so here we go, you know, level 1 limit instead of level 2. I don't know. The interrupt effect has been added. Interrupt effect. A gauge indicating when actions can be interrupted has been added. Player actions with this new effect can prevent the execution of enemy abilities when used before this bar can be filled. Wait. Okay, so let's see. A gauge indicating when actions can be interrupted has been added. Yeah. Player actions with this new effect can prevent the execution of enemies' abilities when used before this bar can be filled. All actions have this effect. Oh, if they had a GIF instead of... I'm guessing this little yellow thing is more of an indicator. I hope that's... that might be useful if... for me, if it's like a boss, so that I don't use my interrupt skill against it if, for some reason I'm fighting a new thing or just something that I want to fight faster, and it's like, oh, well, let me interrupt. Nope, I guess it's fully resisted. No reason to have done that. There goes my off-global cooldown opportunity for a useless skill. So it'll be just like, okay, I can definitely interrupt those skills, or nope, you can't interrupt that skill. It's visual cues. It's just more stuff. I'm sure it'll make sense in practice. Charged actions have been implemented. These actions allow players to expend charges to execute them multiple times in quick succession. The recast time for these actions determines the rate at which charges are accumulated. The maximum number of charges for these actions can be... Oh god. Can be confirmed via their action help text. Restarting a duty will fill all charged actions to a maximum. I like this in the sense that and I don't know if it's going to do it for Earthly Star, for instance, on Astrologian, but I do like the charge sense in multiple reasons. Like, you know, it's either having a phase where you just spam the ability for extra bonus or whatever. But for me, I think it'll be more of a good thing for when you're in those situations where your rotation is going and you're wanting to aim for a specific specific like skill or whatever, and it's just barely off of cooldown. But you could also use this other skill that is off of cooldown, and you know, you get in that weird limbo area where you're not really using your skills effectively, or they're just out of sync. Like earlier, I did a stream and I was helping these people, and sometimes I don't want to actually do the actual skill, even though it's up, because I don't have, like, for instance, the Celestial Opposition. That's a good skill to pop to extend the length of the other boons and stuff. So, anyways, this one, for instance, Earthly Star, would be really useful. Oftentimes, I'll have fight situations where, you know, I can get 2 Earthly Stars off, and then in between fights, it's like 45 seconds instead of a whole minute, so you're not quite charged up to use the next Earthly Star immediately, or it's been over a minute till the next group of enemies. Like, say, for instance, earlier tonight, Gimlet Dark, I did that dungeon, and there's 2 different places the tank usually pulls a bunch of enemies before they go into the middle. So, you know, you start the engagement, and Earthly Star's already on cooldown because you might have used it on another engagement, and then you're like, okay, so it's not just a minute, it's a minute and a half, or just an extra couple seconds, anyhow, to get to the part where they're actually in position, so that you can just, at that point, drop your skill down and make the most use out of it. I like the charge system in that regards, because if that was the case. Then you'd be like, oh, I don't care. Earthly Star is not only available, but those few seconds that I didn't get time to actually use it haven't been wasted. That it's still working towards minute 2 for the next Earthly Star, so on and so forth. So that might be kind of cool in that regards. What is it? The bubble or whatever that Astrologian has for where I'll pop the bubble usually for the passive, just because it's basically a regen that you don't have to be in diurnal to have on your characters. But oftentimes it'll be off cooldown, but my teammates aren't quite in a spot where I need to pop it, so I'll like get in the middle of the teammates and then I can pop it, and even if it takes me an extra couple of seconds to get into position and the skill's ready, it's not eating into the next time that the skill will be on cooldown, if that makes sense. I'm sure I'm over explaining, but yeah, let's see. Certain weapon skills will now have unique recast timers. Let's see. Air Anchor. While these actions are still affected by the global cooldown timer, they will not share a recast timer with other weapon skills. The timer will display over the icon of weapon skills and spells with unique recast timers. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but maybe it's just more, like I said, more different graphic. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's something simple, but anyhow, delivers an attack with a potency of 700. It's pretty powerful. Increases battery gauge by 20. This action's not. Okay. Machinist is probably going to be really fun to play too. Pet actions have been removed. Actions that previously qualified as pet actions have been incorporated into player actions. Actions executed by pets have been moved to the pet category of the actions tab. Certain actions cannot be executed manually. Pets can no longer be targeted by player or enemy actions. Attacks performed by a pet will generate immunity for a player who summoned it. Okay. So your pet can no longer tank for you. That's weird. No more Titan tank. Pets will no longer be displayed in the party list. Pet HP will no longer be displayed when targeted. I guess they probably determined that it was just kind of inconsequential to whether your pet was alive or dead, based on the greater scheme of the class. There's a bit of trimming for some of these adjustments. TP has been removed. The MP bar will be displayed when riding Gob Walkers in Alexander. Oh, okay. The cuff of the father Alexander. The cuff. Okay, I see. Has been replaced with an EP bar. Okay. Maximum MP for all jobs has been fixed to 10,000. MP costs of actions has been adjusted accordingly. The effect of Piety has been changed from increasing maximum MP to increasing MP regeneration rate. This attribute only affects healer classes and jobs. Parrying is now less effective in reducing damage. Blocking is now less effective in reducing damage. That's where they're wanting to make it a little bit more focused on the healer, more focused on healing instead of the tank mitigating enough damage that the healer can, basically. I guess it has pluses and minuses. I'm sure there's still going to be the case where the gear will be will outdo the challenge, and you'll have more opportunity to join in on the DPS. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be if the other classes can put out the right amount of DPS, then it will be interesting in one aspect to play a healer with the intent that you are a healer. You're not, you know, kind of sort of in between healing and attacker. Let's see here. Party bonus effects have been adjusted. Okay. And I am seriously falling asleep at the wheel here, but I am going to finish this because I am going to upload this uncut. I don't care. I'm uploading it how it is. Okay, let's see here. The 100% increase in XP gain granted by the Armory bonus now applies to all jobs below level 70. From level 70 onward, the Armory bonus is 50% increase in XP gained. In accordance with the increase in the level cap bonuses, 100% increase in EXP gained by Armory bonus. I don't know what the Armory bonus is. Sorry if my posture's like going completely wacko. I don't have the energy right now to sit up straight properly. Let's see here. Am I completely off camera? No, I'm not. I'm just leaning forward really weird. Cool. Okay. Stop looking at myself. It's distracting. I'm distracting. Alright, in accordance with the increase in level cap, bonuses for new worlds and preferred worlds are now applicable to level 69. Cool. New dungeons have been added. There's the city on fire. That one's probably in the place where the Viera are, or maybe it's this place, I'm not sure. Maybe this is like the Ilmeg dungeon, or a piece of it, or something, I don't know. It looks a little more foresty than Ilmeg's dungeon. That looks very interesting. You know what's going to be really cool, honestly, with the whole light thing? What if they have this particular dungeon, or any dungeon in particular, have the theme where it's been taken over by by light by such a degree that the music is muffled or something, like you could hear a pin drop kind of thing, like that sort of design. Maybe they'll have just straight up, you know, a chorus playing in the background or something like that. Feels very holy-ish, but that would be really cool, honestly, if it felt more like sort of like so quiet that you could hear the ringing in your ears kind of thing. That would be really like unsettling. But also make the dungeon that much cooler, I think, in my opinion. Maybe even have it where, like, because how the dungeon's set up, it actually reduces the sound of your moves, so everything feels like it's getting sucked into this air of blankness or whatever. I don't know. It's very interesting looking, though. Got the... yeah. EXP gain bonus in instant dungeons has been removed. Ouch. Ow. In accordance with this change, the amount of XP has been increased. Okay, well, depends. I mean, yeah. I guess we'll have to see how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't, you know, slow people down to getting out of 2.0, because as cool as 2.0 was when it was relevant, it's a slog to go through at this point, in my opinion. So, the trust system has been added. The system allows you to challenge main scenario dungeons with a party of allied NPCs. Parties mostly can be composed of 1 tank, 1 healer, 2 DPS. There's revisiting dungeons. The trust system can be used to enter dungeons you've already completed. Wait. Entering dungeons for the first time. After reaching the quest objective to clear the dungeon in the main scenario, several allied NPCs will be standing near the dungeon's entrance. Speak with them, and you'll have the option to add them to your party and enter the dungeon. Oh, okay. Trust system can be used to enter dungeons you've already completed. First, select Trust under Duty in the main menu. In the window that appears, select the dungeon you wish to enter. NPCs will accompany you. I'm not exactly thrilled about that, I'll admit. Especially with the whole they're standing outside the dungeon, and it's like, hey, you know, that's going to make a lot of people, in my opinion, take the lone gamer route, in my opinion. I honestly, it would fit better, in my opinion, if you could do, I don't know, the trust thing's kind of, you know, hitting a weird spot for me, and also it's I'm too tired to be able to put it to words at this point. I might just have to put this whole recording thing on hold. Let me see here. Okay, trust system. Twintania. Okay. Oh, that is a very gold-looking person. So we got 2 trials. I don't know what to expect, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. The echo will be applied to all 4.x trials. Okay, cool. Nice. I want to go through it. Let's see. The strength of the echo granted in Omega AlphaScape Scavenge has been increased. The echo will take effect upon entering Omega AlphaScape Savage, increasing players' maximum HP, damage dealt, and healing potency by 20%. Okay, so that actually is kind of cool, because that means well, you'll be level 80 gear available, so you'll instantly have the right eye level. It's just, that extra 20% is probably going to make Savage runs of that a little bit easier for new players, just to be able to complete the content, I guess. Tombstones of Goetia have been added. That's interesting, because there's a Black Mage outfit that's Goetia. Is the same... I don't know. Maybe it's the same... Because they said that, I mean, it is technically the same world, it's just split in 13 different ways, and they did 13 different, they developed 13 separate ways from that point of splitting. But, yeah, interesting. The name of, that name just kind of makes me think that maybe there's more to it. Allegan Tombstones of Mendacity and Allegan Tombstones of Genesis are no longer available. However, players will retain all currently held Allegan Tombstones. Kinda pointless, but okay. The NPC Ariana in Revenant's Toll will now give players the option to exchange Allegan Tombstones of Mendacity and Allegan Tombstones of Genesis for Poetics. Okay. Moreover, items that could be purchased in exchange for these other ones. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I'm reading through that stuff. I'm probably just autopilot at this point. Raid Finder will now only list trials and duties introduced with patch 5.0. However, the Unending Coil of Bahamut Ultimate and Weapons Refrain Ultimate can still be accessed via the Raid Finder. I don't know, is that different than Duty Finder? I don't know. The Duty Finder has been adjusted as follows. Duties associated with each roulette category has been adjusted. Level 50-60 and roulette level 70 dungeons have been combined into the dungeon roulette. Okay, so it's 50, 60, 70. Cool. Let's see. So it'll be expert, 50, 60, 70, leveling, trials, main scenario, which obviously it looks like they haven't found a better solution than sitting through a half hour of cutscenes. I wish they would fix that. Alliance raids. Normal raids, mentor. That's cool. They need more reason to be a mentor. They need more ways to become a mentor, because I think 6 years in this game, that's more than enough time for me to, but I've personally not been going for it, so I feel like you have to make a concerted effort to get that title, and I wish you would just get it for being a good player and being, you know, around long enough that you've experienced the content. I don't think you should have a there should be a little different, a more organic way of getting those statuses, I think. So, like, you're not just having elitist people. I don't know. New enemies have been added, so we got some lizards, some really crazy Kakitar. really crazy. I'm gonna say it's a golem, but it's a flower pot golem. And robo spiky chest thing. Elite marks. There's Kelpie. There's a goblin thing. A toad. Whatever it is, it's similar to those things in Othard. I forget. That's an interesting looking enemy. It's all leafy and kind of splurting out of the pot. Okay. Oh, interesting. Players can now hunt regular and elite marks in the new areas. Marks defeated in the new areas will also yield sacks of nuts, which can be exchanged for various items. Players must first complete the following quest before taking up the hunt in these areas. That's to you. I can see the jokes. The jokes are going to be flying. Let's see here. You can change sacks of nuts. God damn it. Even though I'm... let's see here. 2.0. A notification will now display when an S elite rank mark spawns in your current area. That's good. I've honestly been missing out on a lot of... Yeah. A notification indicating the general direction of B rank marks will now display when they spawn in your area. You sense your mark to the north. Okay. A notification indicating a nearby B rank mark has been defeated will now also display. You'll no longer sense the presence of your mark. That's probably if someone's like trolling you and making the mark go somewhere else on the map. It's gonna be interesting. Oh, I see. It's for your specific mark, so it'll only tell you the message if you've got it. So then people can't abuse it and, you know, hunt down your mark. They have to find it without the tips. The scenario seals cap has been increased. Centurion seals cap from 1,000 to 4,000. Nice. House of the Dead. Adjusted Gunbreaker and Dancer's arms are now available. Heaven on high. Okay. Lawns and expansion of... Alright. The lawns. Oh, okay. Trials tailored to various high-level duties. Players will be tasked with destroying a level 80 striking enemy to access. There's another striking opportunity. Following adjustments have been made to the logo's actions in the hidden Forbidden Land Eureka. Reduces TP cost. The effect which reduces TP cost has been removed. Well, of course, because they don't have TP. Rejuvenate. Which restores TP has been replaced with the effect which restores HP. Huh. In accordance to this change, traits, let's see here, PvP traits have been removed. Probably because they were inconsequential, I don't know. PvP actions and jobs have been adjusted. Okay. TP has been removed. Quick chat message TP has been removed. Items. Cool. We got some interesting items. Those robes look pretty cool though. I definitely think those come from that golden holy city area. The Dapper outfit probably comes from the Ilmeg stuff. Okay. New recipes have been added. Certain items can be sold. What we got here? Changing materia. I don't want to get into that right now. Level cap, desynthesis, new crafter actions. Following crafter actions have been removed. Oh. Okay. Probably crafters know more about that. I don't cover crafting. At least not right now. Like I said, that could change if, you know, this crafting UI is more fun or engaging to do. I don't know. It's definitely that. Minor. Stickler, giving land, okay. New fishing holes have been added. S-rank records can now be obtained from certain fishing spots listed in the fishing log. Freshwater bowl. Okay. A new mount. New mounts have been added. Oh, that's cool. You get a little Sin Eater dragon. It's kind of cool. And Triceratops. That's going to be really funky, seeing if that thing flies, because I think all mounts fly, I think. Yeah. It's going to be kind of silly. Oh, I see. They couldn't initially. Oh, I get it. The following mounts are now able to fly. I mean, Triceratops might not be able to fly. I don't know. It's gonna be weird. Chocobo barding has been added, so we can have Dancer, Chocobo. I'm guessing that's Gunbreaker or Machinist, one of the two. New minions have been added. A pelican! Yes, I've always wanted a pelican. Alright, so let's see. I don't know what let's see. A market board has been added to the Crystarium. Okay. The following action additions, adjustments. Oh, nice. They've added sightseeing. Alright, this thing is gonna be kind of cool right here, following additions. I don't understand why they have to have it on top of the health bar. I don't know. Maybe it's just not enough room. Just, it looks a little messy, in my opinion, but whatever. People just have to deal with it as I'm healing their butts. That'll be nice, though, to see that so I don't waste mana on things that don't need to be wasted. Following changes have been made to group pose. Trust system NPCs will now be included in group pose. Trust and squadron NPCs will now repeat their most recently executed action. Okay, cool. Very nice, very nice. I'm not entirely sure how they managed to get, like, enemies with the trust. Because I think if you don't kill it, it's gonna kill you, kind of thing. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Oh, I am so fucking tired. I'm sorry, guys. I'm fading, but I want to finish this. Here we go. All right, Omega. Ion influx. Yeah, it shows how close they are. Island influx. The UI's color scheme has now been set to either light or dark or light. Cool. I might play with the light setting. It might be a different feel to it. I do like darker tones though. Let's see what else we got here. In accordance with these increased level cap, conditions must be met. Oh my gosh. I don't think I can brain anymore, but let's find out what's going on here. The following additions and adjustments have been made to cutscenes. Text relating to the information or to the formation or disbanding of a party will no longer appear if the cutscene is in progress. Oh, I see, so it doesn't get in the way of the visuals. The manner in which dialogue selections are displayed has been changed. Oh, okay. I do kind of like that. It's a little more engaging instead of a giant square in the middle of your screen. The position, the identifying letter. Oh, I see. Okay, so it has been changed. It's no longer on the end. Okay, that makes a little more sense. There are now separate toggle actions to turn map text and map icons on and off. Certain quest objective items have been changed to gate elevation. Aha. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, my brother, he's still getting used to playing the game. He doesn't play it very often, but I'm trying to get him to play it. And his immediate reaction to the map was, it's so hard to read. It's like not detailed or anything. And I'm like, it's not World of Warcraft. I mean, I don't know what WoW's maps are like, but you're not gonna necessarily. They try to make the maps look like they're actual papyrus-like maps, sort of hand-drawn kind of thing. But yeah, I like the level of detail. It's like not too detailed, but it's you just sort of get the gist of where you're supposed to go. More stuff. Hey, look at that! I'm actually at the bottom of this thing. I'm getting there. New music has been added. Square Enix accounts can now be saved on the PlayStation 4 launcher. Title screen, logo, and opening movie have been changed to those of Shadowbringers. The opening movie for Stormblood can be viewed by selecting movies at the title screen. Gunbreaker and Dancer have been added to the solo rankings of House of the Dead and Heaven on High. Alright, time to find out if Dancer is able to do anything remotely close to, like, the other classes. I think with the way the dances are set up, and if it has a good rotation on the healing aspect, should be alright. Should actually, if yeah, I don't know. I still think Red Mage is gonna be, for that, the best one, because you've got the double cast thing, or dual cast deal. You don't have to stand still for each skill. You have, like, that brief moment of, you know, I'm using a skill while I'm moving. So yeah, you can end up whatever you want to call it, words and things, stuff and that. Okay, so oh my god, I should have thought about that before I started doing this, but thank you guys for tuning in. That seems to be the patch notes, more or less, at least the stuff that I found that was important to go over. Yeah, more of the interesting stuff, I think, though, is, like, the trust system's okay. I'm gonna have to just come to terms that some people need it, some people have to, it's just there as an option, but I won't fully support it. Battle system's been updated. You can be Hrothgar or Viera. Mahjong, if you care about that, it's changed. Housing stuff has changed a little bit, or they've added new stuff. Oh god. Wait. Did I skip over? Did I say on the Blue Mage? Okay, I'm gonna find out here. Blue. Oh. Blue Mage, Gunbreaker, and Dancer symbol options have been added to company chat press. You know what I just realized? They didn't actually say anything about Blue Mage, I don't think. It's mentioned 3 times. Let me find out here. Nope. Wait a second. Why is... I thought Blue Mage was a limited class. Because now they're part of the whole... I don't know. I just noticed, though, that they didn't mention about, like, increasing Blue Mage's cap to 60. So maybe that's for a later patch. Maybe not as many people got on board with the Blue Mage deal once it was released. I know Yoshi P really wasn't, like, hip on releasing Blue Mage anyways, because of just it goes against a lot of how the game's currently built to function as. A lot of the enemies have moves that literally break the game if your character could do it. For instance, I mean, they just gave you a level 50 the look, which puts Doom on stuff, and it's like, doesn't matter how big and tough you are, you're dead in 10 seconds. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I think that's about it for me. I'm spent, but I also think that's all we have to say about these patch notes. What do you know? We have 22 hours or 20 hours until the servers shut down for a day. I still can't believe it's that close, but it's still taking forever. I can't wait until it comes out, but at the same time, I don't know. It's just, I know it's not that long. It feels forever. I think I blamed their promo video showing, 10 days ago or whatever. It was just like, really? You have to show the release trailer that early? So now we're super hyped. I'm so stoked for this patch. I hope it delivers. I hope it does everything that I want it to do. I'm going to go ahead and get some rest, and thank you guys for watching. I hope that, I kind of started off a little soft with, I feel like my start of this thing was a little weak. I feel like once I started falling asleep, then I wasn't really doing very good at delivering details on the patch notes, but I hope that at some point, some of my rambling made sense. You guys have some thoughts of your own on that sort of stuff. Let me know what you guys thought about this video, and I will be, like I said, I'll probably link in the Twitch deal, or the description in YouTube. I'll link my Twitch website channel, because I'll be streaming when I'm playing through this. But yeah, that's Twitch. Just look at. It's literally my name. My channel. I've claimed the name. There's nothing fancy, so you can just search for FehtSama, and that's on Twitch. It's actually a really easy name to look up. I think if you type FehtSama in Google search, I still come up as like a full page of. The only thing I don't think anyone else really has anything close to that, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding more details about where I'll be when I do stuff, if you don't already follow me. And if you did at least put up with what I have with my whatever it is, I'm super tired. Yeah. I want to do more, and I want to do it whenever I am awake, and I want to be able to do this more concise and not make such long videos, but at the same time, there was a crap ton of stuff to go through. Not all of it interesting, but, stuff and things. If you like this video, please leave a like, and feel free to hit the bell and subscribe, or subscribe and then hit the bell so that you know whenever I post videos, because you know how YouTube is. They're kind of against game videos at this point. They want to try and promote something else. I don't know, night shows and stuff. So you normally won't be getting notices for any of your creators that, yeah. Anyhow, again, thanks guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.